Performance automakers love to use the saying, it's a race car for the road, whether it's the 911 GT3 RS, Mercedes-AMG Project 1, or even the original Viper was called that. But no vehicle, before or since, has followed that mantra to such an extreme as the Caparo T1. A vehicle that many people don't even know about. Certainly no one would know about it if it wasn't for Top Gear and Forza 6. So let's explore why. Why is this car so fast and so technologically impressive, and yet such a catastrophic failure? Angad Paul took over Caparo Industries in 1996, and he decided to do more than just manufacture steel with his company. So first, he did the logical thing and produced a bunch of movies, including Snatch, which is brilliant. And then, to go in the complete other direction, but also kind of fitting given that Brad Pitt's now in an F1 movie, he decided to found Caparo Vehicle Technologies in 2004 with Graham Halstead and Ben Scott Geddes. Now, both of these guys were engineers on the legendary McLaren F1, and the three of them had one simple goal in mind: build an F1 car for the road. Now, that's no easy feat at the best of times, but they were already technically being to the market when the Ariel Atom came out in 2005, with the aim of bringing the lightweight, open-wheeled sensation to the public. But Caparo would take it to the max. The Atom weighed in at a paltry 1,300 pounds, but their T1 design ended up at just 1,036 pounds for a curb weight. It did this by being built completely out of carbon fiber from the chassis to the bodywork. Not that there's much bodywork at all, it looks honestly like an Indy car. Sure, it's a two-seater, but let's just say the average American probably wouldn't fit in the 7 o'clock seating position? So the driver is just slightly off-center on the right-hand side, and then you have a passenger at 7 o'clock. So yeah, it's a very small space, but it is technically a two-seater. This meant that not only was it aerodynamic, it was light. And to power that featherweight machine was one almighty engine. A naturally aspirated, all-aluminum 3.5-liter V8 that was an honest-to-God modified IndyCar engine that was detuned to 575 horsepower and 310 torque at 9,000 RPM. Unless you ran on ethanol fuel, which then made 700 horsepower. Even without the fancy fuel, the Caparo T1 has a power-to-weight ratio of 1.8 pounds per horsepower, which is still the best ever for a road car 17 years later as of recording this video. I mean, just for reference, Toyota's Le Mans winning TS050 has a ratio of 1.9 pounds per horsepower. And if we use the 700 horsepower figure, that puts its power-to-weight ratio in the same realm as Schumacher's Benetton F1 car. I mean, the T1 has a 0 to 60 time of 2.5 seconds with rear-wheel drive in 2006. Now, to control that enormous fury, they took inspiration from proper racing cars, Formula 1 and IndyCar. The body looks like a proper Grand Prix car with a narrow driver's cell surrounded by wings, diplanes, and diffusers. And they aren't just for show. Those aerodynamic bits add up to 2,000 pounds of downforce at 150 miles an hour. All while somehow being road legal. And in order to do that, they added wheel arches on the front, which not only incorporate the headlights, they also incorporate the mirrors, which passes certification and reduces drag. Combine that with the Pirelli tires, the T1 can turn at 3.5 lateral G, and slamming on those carbon ceramic brakes assaults you with 3 G of deceleration force. For reference, I'm in the braking industry, and whenever I test a hard emergency stop, like when something jumps out in the road at you, that stop is usually half a G to 6/10 of a G. And this thing stops at 3. Yeah. And you can get all of this for just $500,000, which is expensive, especially for 2006, but is also half the price of a Veyron or a Koenigsegg while delivering the performance of a Formula 1 car. And unlike the Aston Martin Valkyrie and the AMG 1, it could actually back up those claims that it's a road-legal race car, because, well, 1, they tested it, and 2, look at the thing. How that is legal on British roads, I have no idea, but there you go. Caparo planned to sell 25 cars a year when it debuted at Monaco in 2006, but the public just wasn't interested in it because of the events that led up to the unveiling. Immediately, the T1 had issues. The throttle got stuck at Goodwood, it burst into flames on 5th gear, the suspension disintegrated on a poor Dutch journalist, and even though it smashed the Top Gear track lap record by 7 seconds, it was given a poor review because the floor fell out, and it was very difficult to drive. Since it has such special tires and so much reliance on aerodynamics, low-speed driving is a nightmare. It just doesn't have the low-speed grip. Once you get up to the high speed and the downforce actually starts to work, it flies. But until you get to that point, well, as Clarkson said it best, it would be an excellent excuse for a policeman, since he has to take that corner at 1,000 miles an hour, because if he takes it at 30, he'll crash. Needless to say, this was really bad press, and nobody bought them. So instead of selling 25 a year, only 15 were sold in 6 years of production. Sure enough, Caparo Vehicle Technologies went into receivership in 2012, and although a T1 EVA was proposed, the company collapsed as the British steel crisis hit hard, and it was just too much for CEO Angad Paul, who committed suicide in 2015. And with that, the story of the Caparo T1 comes to a tragic end. The Caparo was the definition of ambitious but rubbish. It had a huge goal that it kind of actually achieved. They built an honest-to-God F1 car for the road that was semi-affordable compared to the cars that it was facing off against, and had so much performance that it set records that still stand today. It remains the only road car to break 1,000 horsepower per ton, and was the fastest car around a circuit in the world at launch, and it held it for a very long time. It just wasn't reliable, and the 2008 recession meant that nobody wanted an ultra-high-end track special. And when you're in an already niche market like the Caparo is, that's a death sentence. But I can't help but commend them for getting it out the door in the first place. Something that so many others have tried and failed at.